I am not a financial advisor. This is not financial advice.
Do your own research.
Consult a professional investment advisor before making any investment decisions.
This show is for entertainment only. Faites vos propres recherches.
Here we are
in another episode
of the Simple Success Podcast.
And
this is financial life coaching from a happiness perspective.
Save up. Huh? Save up. Huh, again? That's the advice a lot of people give to other people when they want something they can't afford yet. Oh, you mean after they've tried patience and thousands of dollars? Au contraire, kind sir. Well, before they try either of those. Boy, is that a misunderstanding. It is? You bet it is. I mean, they could just use credit cards, right? But that's not the best idea either, is it? No, it's not, and it's not a good idea for things even much smaller than houses. And is that the misunderstanding? What to do with extra cash? Sort of, but more. It's that we'd never advise that pathway unless it's the only goal you want. Which is an interesting segue, by the way. Set up, well, probably by you. And to that, I will happily defer all comments until a later time. So, on to our show. When should I start saving up for a house? You should start saving for a house as soon as the desire to buy one crosses your mind. Don't wait for a hypothetical right time to start saving for a house. There isn't one other than now. Do you mean I should not even wait for the right set of circumstances? No, I know what you mean by that. Many people who desire to buy a house wait to have the, air quotes, right job, putting a payment goal before they can start saving before their dream. But I'm here to tell you that it's not about having the right job, but about having the right attitude and doing the right thing. And the right thing is saving, regardless of the kind of job I'm doing right now? Exactly. You structure your savings around your job situation. This will prevent you from falling into the trap of thinking that in the home ownership journey, it's about big bucks. I always thought it was about big bucks. What is it about then? It's about making small, consistent steps. If you can make giant leaps, well and good, just like the stock market or any investing market. But if you can't make those leaps, then what? If you're waiting until you can make giant leaps to start the process, you might end up never starting. And why is that? Because if you get a job that pays you more money, you might tell yourself that you will wait for a better job that's around the corner. And meanwhile, the time is still ticking. And when you get a better job, the same thing might happen. And all the while, the monthly expenses are getting bigger too. That has happened to me. If I knew then what I know now, I would be further ahead in my home ownership dream. True, but don't regret it, my friend. Just learn your lessons and do better. A man is not old until regrets take the place of dreams. What else should I do? If you don't have money to cover the costs associated with buying a house, set up a separate house buying account. This account is for that one purpose over a specific period of time and nothing else. When I was an active financial advisor, I had many people set up accounts that were entirely for their next vacation. Oh, okay, I guess you'll coach me through that. Can you tell me how to factor in my paycheck in the whole equation? Yes. Set up an automatic withdrawal to one of your investment accounts for the day after you receive your paycheck. But you should do this only after you have repaid any high-interest unsecured debts like credit cards. I think I know why I should do that, so that I should not get into more debt while saving up for a house. You got that right. The other way to save up for a house is to invest your extra money. Oh, yeah. You want to know what I do with my windfalls? I can only imagine. Good that you can do that. No aphantasia there. When I have a windfall, I splurge like there is no tomorrow. I pull the trigger on whatever is the biggest purchase I can make. Months of expenses saved, no more. What about budgeting apps? Everybody knows that budgeting is no fun. Well, that's about to change. If you get a tax refund, a bonus at work, or some other unexpected sum of money, put all the cash in your house buying account. Is that any account of mine? No, you want your money to work for you. Therefore, consider putting it in a savings account that earns interest so that your savings can grow. What should I do if I am always tempted to access the money in the savings account? Discipline is the key. But if you have a problem with disciplining yourself, save your money in an account that automatically restricts access. Can visualization help me in being disciplined? It can, and that's a good point. When you visualize the house you're doing all that intense saving for, and the joys and freedom it will bring and the wonderful memories you will create, discipline and deferred gratification will kick in. Oh, good. I think visualization will also prevent me from thinking saving for a house is a dreadful chore. Now, what else should I do to save up for a house? You can downsize. If you're living in a rental, you could consider moving to a smaller, less expensive place, or getting a roommate to share the cost of your current place, like we talked about in our house hacking episode.
Episode 108.
Right, I can consider that. Well, I'm also visualizing my dream house, so it makes it easier to downsize. I am cutting on luxuries. And that's another way to save up for a house. It's not just about cutting the big luxuries, but the small ones too. You need all the dimes you can save because they will add up to that big number you need, after which it won't really seem that big. One thing I've been trying to do is budget, as it helps me keep track of my expenditures and prevents me from impulse buying. A budget will help you to know where every dime is going, and this will help you change your spending habits, which will have a positive impact on saving for a house. It's strange how such a small thing can have such a big impact. Yeah, it's always a trade. Either you trade money for time or you trade time for money. I wish more people knew this, and you know, there are people who have budgets in their heads. I was once one of those people. Oh, really? You have to tell me about that later. But for now, if you see the numbers in black and white, you will have a better understanding and grasp of your finances. From what we have discussed so far, saving up for a house doesn't seem to be that hard. It's not that hard. It's within reach for most of us. Just look around. But we only need to hear the process broken down in easily digestible bits for us to get it. I think also hearing stories of common folks who have saved up for a house would help to demystify this process. Okay, we need to change the narrative and make people know that owning a home is not just for a select few people in the society. I used to have that mindset. Thankfully, I changed it in the nick of time. I'd love for you to tell us how that happened, but right now, it's time for
break number 1.
Hello, everyone. This is John with the Simple Success Podcast, financial life coaching from a happiness perspective. Because we know you want to show us some serious love in return for the tremendous benefits you get from us, please subscribe to us in your favorite podcast player. You can find us on both the App Store and the Play Store because our message is for everyone. Leave a rating for us, or even better, tell a friend. Whichever you choose, thank you so much for helping us do this for you. To leave us a written message, which just might lead to more in a future podcast, go to those same written show notes to find our subreddits. There is also our Facebook group page, Twitter, and other ways which we'll tell you about from time to time. You can also find an Easter egg every so often, so listen closely. Thank you again, and keep those constructive ideas coming. Before we went on our break, I was telling you how much I changed my mindset, as I used to think that home ownership was out of reach for me. Yeah, you know, I think what turns people off the most is hearing about the mountains of money it takes. But if you tell them that one climbs a mountain one step at a time, and you give them the tools and support for the process, you will change their mindset. You've spoken so much about mindset and home ownership. Well, of course, because home ownership starts in the mind. If you believe that you can own a home, you will do the work of saving up and sacrificing toward that dream. And I will confess it is hard work, but which I do happily because I know the end result. That's the spirit, DT. Thank you, John. Now, can you please do the honors of telling us who our guest is today? Yes, our guest is Matt Gouget, the mortgage guy. Oh, great. I want to save thousands on my mortgage, so I'll be extremely attentive. Matt, as we can already tell, it's our pleasure to have you on the podcast.
Hello, Matt. Glad to have you here with us today.
Hey, John.
Hey, Matt, how you doing?
I'm doing great. How you doing?
All right. So tell us a little bit more about, you're not just, I mean, you are Matt, but you're not just Matt. You are Matt, the mortgage guy. So talk to us about that.
Right. And really having a mortgage guy is having somebody as a resource to walk you through what some would consider a really daunting and scary process. So I help people buy homes, refinance homes, and it's all residential stuff. It's all 1 to 4 unit stuff, licensed nationwide as a mortgage broker. And I really enjoy helping people out with their mortgage.
What would you say has been your biggest joy?
I think my biggest joy is when you're able to help somebody out who didn't think that they would own a home. And I'll give you a story because I love stories.
That'd be great.
It was probably 5 or 6 years ago now, working with a guy who was in his mid-50s. He'd served our country. He was eligible for a VA loan because of that service to our country. And we were at the signing table getting ready to buy this nice property out in Pollock Pines that he loved, and it was a perfect place for him and everything that he wanted, is including, some space and some acreage. And he stopped in the middle of the signing and he stood up with his hands on the table. And here we had a grown man in tears. And I remember saying, "Hey, Steve, are you okay?" "Yeah, Matt, I never thought that I would own my own home. And I just want to soak this in." And I'm telling you, John, that there was not a dry eye in the room. In moments like those, I'm, changing trajectory of some people's lives. He's going to own this home, make it his own, probably hand it on to the next generation when he's gone. And it was something that even 6 months prior to him owning, he didn't think was a possibility. Really, really, moments like that are truly what continue to inspire me to keep doing this every day.
Mm-hmm. So you worked with his belief and helped educate him toward believing that he could actually do it, is what I'm hearing.
Right. Yeah. That's the thing too, is one of the things I like to tell people is that I empower them through education. Because if you didn't know any better and you come from a generation of renters and all you've done all your life is rent, you just think, this is the thing I do. Buying a home involves 20% down. Buying a home involves a perfect credit score. All these misconceptions that aren't true, by the way. In his situation, it was because you've served our country and because you're eligible for a VA loan, you can do that with 0% down. Also, you don't have to have perfect credit. Also, you can have variable income from your construction jobs, and we're okay with all of that. You qualify. But if you don't educate somebody and give them all that education, they don't feel empowered. Once they have it, then it's like, okay, I qualify. All those things, you see the light bulb come on, and we present those options. We empower people through education. They've got the information. They're empowered. I would say it's probably very similar to somebody who's working with a financial advisor, where you've got the tools. Whether they go out and implement them and reach their goals and retire with some freedom is up to the individual, but you're at least going to give them the tools and say, hey, here's the path that I've walked with thousands of clients of mine in the past. If you want to come walk it, come along.
And that's exactly what we're all about here, is giving people the tools and then taking a step across that chasm a little bit and encouraging them to actually utilize it.
How do I get over these different hurdles? And which way do I go? How fast do I walk? All those other things, that's what we're here to do. And that's the neat part. That's the fulfilling part, is that getting to the end and having somebody say, you know what? I was scared. I can't lie. I was really scared of that whole process. Thank you and your team for making it so easy.
That's what this is all about. So I'm going to encourage listeners to look in the Simple Success show notes today to find out how we can get some more of this expertise. Matt, would you like to add to that, how to get in touch with you?
Sure. If you go to greatmortgagebroker.com, fill out that form, me and my team will be in contact within 24 hours. Simple 5 or 6 questions of where you're at, what you're looking to do. So we make sure we get you in front of, the right person. But whatever the case, we want to get you started, let you know the next steps you need to take, whether that's now, whether that's 6 months from now or a year from now. It's never too early to start the conversation around, if I want to buy, what should I do? Because there's a lot of stuff that goes into it, and it costs you nothing. That's the great part about, getting yourself pre-approved to get a mortgage, is all the information is free. So if anybody ever tries to charge you anything for mortgage advice or information, you're in the wrong place.
Okay.
Me and my team are going to spend hours of our resources. I'm going to spend my dollars to pull the credit report. It's all on us, all this work. We want to do it for you so that you have, even if you just need a starting point, because some people that don't think they qualify,
Right. All right. Well, thank you very much for your time today, Matt.
Yeah, that was awesome, John.
All right. Have a good one. Have a good rest of your day.
All right. Bye-bye.
Well, I have to say, I like that. DT, what did you think about Matt's perspective? Sometimes a mortgage can be a complicated process, and so I liked how Matt talks mortgage to the layperson. I also liked the bit about financial education. Good, I'm glad you like that. Now, for me, it was about how he is passionate about changing the trajectory of people's lives and how owning a home can have multi-generational consequences. He also stressed that if you don't educate somebody, they will not feel empowered. That's true. You'd be like a squirrel who saves up nuts for the winter. If you don't save now, you'll have nothing to eat in the cold months ahead. Or, in a twist on what financial advisors always say about fancy coffee, if you save up for a house by not drinking coffee every day, then you might just have enough money in only a couple of years. Okay, what else did Matt say? Matt wants to help you save up for a down payment. Yes, he says the first step to saving up for a house is to stop living paycheck to paycheck. That's why he recommends paying off debt before buying a car or even getting married. And I agree with that approach because it helps you get out of an expensive situation quickly. Be sure to regularly check out your credit scores too. And it gives you something tangible to show people when you want that something they have. It can. I think key to being able to save for a house is having a plan. Matt has a great way to start helping you build up a savings plan. You should definitely check out his podcast. You can't buy happiness with money, but you sure can pay somebody else to make you happy. That's my kind of emergency fund. If you want to buy your own home, you need to start planning right now. And come to think of it, owning a home has other great lessons. I want to share some that I can think of. Oh, you can't buy happiness, but you can make yourself happy by
But first, break number 2.
We know a lot about you already because we know ourselves. For example, we know that you know how to listen to our podcast. We also know that you probably know how to subscribe. So as soon as you're done with that, tell us your story. We have ways you can contact us. It involves a special link where you can leave us a message. We may have an email address for you as well in the future, and we'll let you know if that happens. The reason for subscribing? I thought you'd never ask. When you subscribe, you automatically download all future episodes of that podcast. It just happens in your player without you having to go search again. How cool is that? This means better rankings for the podcast, more attention from advertisers, and more money. And this means more and better stuff for you. So your motivation is simple and easy. Subscribe today, whatever app and from whatever place you like. And don't just try to subscribe. There is no try. There is only do. We're changing the way we look at things, and remember, that's good. Eso es buenísimo. Also remember, this is financial life coaching from a happiness perspective. Coaching happiness. Our call to action is right in the show notes. Find it, and you win too. I am only one decision away from owning a house. Yes, and it's all about a decision, really. You decide and then you do what you're supposed to do. The same applies to investing. You have to decide for yourself and not be compelled by others. So what's the simple solution? It's ownership. Surprise! You know, the funny thing is I'm not surprised. Home ownership is a deeply personal matter. I think it's incumbent on each person to arrive at the decision by themselves and not to be coerced. Yeah, I can see how that can backfire, taking away months of living expenses. For instance, if someone is unable to save up for the house or falls behind on some payment, they'll be quick to shift the blame. And the blame game has no place in home ownership or investing. The buck stops with the man in the mirror. It does. Investing involves saving up and sacrificing just like other things. If you ask more entrepreneurs, they will tell you of the enormous sacrifices they made in the initial stages and still have to make from time to time. Just as in saving up for a home, the sacrifices are long-term. How can I prevent lethargy from getting the best of me? I think you mentioned this in the first part of the podcast when you talked about visualization. Having mental pictures of your goal will provide you with some boost when you feel like giving up. I know that from personal experience. Okay. Now, how do I prevent myself from building castles in the air? By putting in the work. If you can visualize all you want, but are not consistently putting in the work that's commensurate with those mental pictures, then you'd be building castles in the air. And this applies as much in saving up for a home as it does in investing, right? Absolutely. You know how I always say that saving is investing? Yeah. Saving can prevent costly things like private mortgage insurance. In fact, this applies to anything you're doing or dreaming of doing in life. If you have mental pictures of a happy family and you're not putting in the work, you're wasting your time. Can you say something about consistency? Certainly. For most people, saving up for a home takes many years. Many things happen in these years. There are transitions, illnesses, job losses. Relationships may fail. We may get windfalls. You have to be consistent through thick and thin. What does it mean to be consistent? It doesn't mean re-listening to old pods, does it? It sort of does, yes. But is there any reason not to do that? Of course not. Consistency is the critical driver for success. Being consistent means dedicating yourself to your goals and staying focused on the things and activities to achieve your goals. Consistency requires a lot. That's why many people flounder. Indeed. Consistency requires a long-term commitment from you and involves sustained effort in doing actions repeatedly until you achieve your goals.
Duh.
What are some of the things I need to be consistent? Discipline, accountability, and responsibility are all parts of staying consistent. Consistency can spell the difference between failure and success. Being consistent can help anybody to achieve success in any field of endeavor. Besides consistency, can you have a plan to start? You can. In fact, you need a solid plan to make your home ownership or investing dreams come true. But you have to plan, right? I think it was Benjamin Franklin who once said, "If you fail to plan, you are planning to fail." That's a true thing to say no matter who said it. A business plan is a very important and strategic tool for entrepreneurs. A good business plan not only helps entrepreneurs focus on the specific steps necessary for them to make business ideas succeed, but it also helps them to achieve short-term and long-term objectives. But I've heard some people confessing that they just stumbled into a business. Does this mean I can just do whatever and hope things will work out? You can take that path like a lot of people do. But in most cases, if you reverse engineer their steps, you'll realize that though some things may seem random, they're not. If you ask these same people to, quote unquote, stumble into another business, they will not. I think this means I should stop buying all the hype that some influencers peddle on social media. Okay, that's one way to look at it. If you fall for such long tails, you will be frustrated. Entrepreneurship steps can be traced and replicated. Even if the entrepreneur didn't know what he was doing, he knows that these outcomes are not cosmic flukes. That reminds me of some inventors who, quote unquote, accidentally invented something. When they later look at the series of steps that led them to that moment, they realize that the invention was not an accident. True dat, DT. Thank you for clearing that up. And for people who are just waiting for things to happen, the only thing that will happen is that poverty will overtake them. Something else I can take away from today's topic is that I just need to start investing and not wait for the right circumstances. Don't be like that vast majority of people who tie their starting investing to whatever capital they have. To these types of people, capital is money. Are you saying that there are other types of capital? That's exactly what I'm saying. I didn't know that. Where have I been living? Probably under the rock of hypocrisy. Ah, my liege. Seriously, though, capital is anything that increases your ability to generate value. It can be used to increase value across a wide range of categories, such as financial, social, physical, intellectual, and others. Cue in some drum roll, says I. DT, come out from under that rock. Looking good, mon ami. Hey, a quick shower will get rid of the rest of that rock dust. Ha! I'll read the next line since you're focused on the jokes. While money and capital may seem like the same thing, they are not. You are brilliant, DT. Capital is a much broader term that includes all aspects of a business that can be used to generate revenue and income, such as the company's people, investments, patents, trademarks, and other resources. That re-education about capital wasn't a wake-up call, but a shove that pushed me off my comfort zone and down the stairs. Ooh, I hope that didn't hurt, but even if things like that do hurt, we need those kind of shoves to get us going sometimes. The other lesson I got, and this is from our guest Matt, is that investing is not rocket science. It's not. It's just something we have to do. We need to change the erroneous belief that investing is only for people with big brains. For the record, John, I do have a big brain. I know, and I'm impressed when I see you getting down to action after each podcast. The difference between those who get ahead and those who don't is the actions they take. And their consistency. Yeah, and their consistency. And practice. I don't want to waste time not practicing. I want to put wheels into motion ASAP. Good thinking. It's only by putting the things we've learned into action that we get the outcomes we desire.
Which is how you've all gotten good.
Gracias por escuchar.
Salut. À la prochaine.
This podcast and our other podcast are productions of Little Red Hen Industries. The supporting cast who helps me bake the bread includes
Techno King, John Brandy, Alter Ego, Doubting Thomas, Fact Checker, A Small Brown Beef Animal, Seriously, Tiny. Facts are important but are also easy. Social Manager, Abraham Lincoln, Media Expert, Augustus Caesar. Psychologist, William James. Sound Designer, Adobe's Creative Suite. Spanish Consultant, Cameron J.K. Brandy. French Consultant, Leah, the Do-Your-Own Research Lady. Videographer, Eto Monkoshki. Audio Props, Les Paul. Inspiration, many podcasts and other sources, and of course Napoleon Hill.
We also have websites, and you can subscribe to both podcasts. You can even send us a video, audio, or text message, but of course, you'll have to head to the show notes, either on your phone or on the web, to get the links and stuff. And all those clickable links are in the show notes.
And before we forget, the artificial intelligence or AI voices that you hear in our work are offered up by Google, Amazon Polly, and OpenAI, like we say in the show notes. They don't sponsor us yet, but we love what they do, and we just love what AI can do when lovingly crafted.
Finally, you can find us on Podmatch.com, Matchmaker.fm, Podbooker and Podcast Guests, where we consider guests and consider guesting on other people's shows.
And really finally, the music for our pods comes from Cute by Ben Sound and from Piano Background by Nick Simon Adams, as well as from AI MuseNet. The sound effect credits go to Jackson Academy Ashmore, Canusi G, Dr. Jekyll, Joe Payne, Everything Sounds, MK Play More Stories, ERH, Sand Emotions, Big Pickle 51, and Just Kidding. Yes, that's his or her name. All on freesound.org. Also, languages are the bomb.
Paul.